The Nintendo Switch and its Joy-Con controllers need no introduction. I don't know about everybody else, but despite the creativity of the Joy-Cons, I never use them. I only play my Switch handheld as a last resort. The lack of ergonomics and even a classic-style D-pad make the Switch with the Joy-Cons simply not practical for longer gaming sessions. These issues have attempted to be addressed by some Joy-Con replacements on the market, but none quite bring a level of excitement as these new Joy-Cons. These are the Nyxi Wizard Joypads. Inspired by the GameCube controller, the Nyxi Wizard controller just may be the best Joy-Con replacements we've ever seen. Not only does the Nyxi Wizard have the potential to be great Joy-Con replacements, but for me, it may just help make the Switch my primary choice for modern and retro gaming on the go. We're going to take a deep dive look at the Nyxi Wizard Joypads, the features it offers, and how it feels to game on them, all to help you decide if they are worth picking up. So make sure you're subscribed, and let's get right to it. As I do a quick unboxing, I do want to mention that Nyxi did send me this controller for review purposes. However, they did not pay me to create this content, and the opinions in this video are my own and not reviewed by Nyxi prior to releasing this video. With that said, the unboxing is quite simple. Inside the box is the controller, an instruction manual, USB-C cable for charging, and a smooth set of Joy-Con rings. First impressions of the controller as a standalone gamepad are fantastic. Ergonomically, I could tell immediately this was going to be a comfortable gaming experience. The ABXY buttons are in the classic GameCube layout. They all feel very responsive, easy to press, and don't push in too far even if you are to press them in a bit harder. It's also cool to see that the ABXY buttons have backlights. It's not necessary, but a nice touch and makes the controller feel pretty premium. The analog sticks also resemble the GameCube controller layout, with the right one being yellow. The biggest difference is that the right analog stick is a full-sized analog stick, the same size as the left one. Both analog sticks have a great range of motion and have click-in functionality. They are Hall-sensing analog sticks, which promises no stick drift. Keeping with the retro vibe, the controller comes default with the octagonal gate for both analog sticks. Replacing the rings is a bit awkward. The rings twist off after quite a bit of force, and you have to kind of maneuver the ring off of the analog stick. But once you get them on, they click in and they feel nice and secure. Below the left analog stick is the D-pad. The D-pad is a good size and has a nice click to it. The remainder of the face buttons include a plus and minus for start and select functionality. There's also the standard screenshot and home buttons that you would find on Joy-Cons and Switch Pro controllers. And finally, on the front of the controller, there's the addition of 2 settings buttons and 2 turbo buttons, one on each side of the joypads. On the back of the controller are 2 additional buttons that are programmable. Finally, at the top are our trigger buttons. While the ZL and ZR buttons look like they should have more travel, they actually take the same amount of force to press as the L and R shoulder buttons. Nyxi did a great job with the aesthetic of this controller while also striking a balance of making it feel more functional for modern games. The ergonomics as a wireless controller are great. They nailed not only the look, but the feel as well. It's not an exact one-to-one to the GameCube controller, but it's definitely comfortable to use. While the controller with the bridge is definitely a good wireless controller, the real standout feature comes when you detach the left and right Joy-Cons and snap them into your Switch in handheld mode. The Switch is suddenly transformed into something that should make any GameCube fans smile. The joypads definitely add some heft to the Switch in handheld mode. In fact, it's wider than the Steam Deck, but wow, this kicks you really hard in the nostalgic gut. It also finally makes the Switch in handheld a truly comfortable ergonomic experience. The Joy-Cons are immediately detected by the Switch, and I find it to be the quickest way to pair them even if you want to use them as a wireless controller. Before you dive into a game, you should go into the Switch's system settings and calibrate both analog sticks, as they don't seem to come calibrated out of the box. But once you do this, both analog sticks will work perfectly. The only thing that's a bit off-putting is how far they stick out below the Switch when connected in handheld mode. You can literally fit another Switch back there. It would have been nice to maybe see the rail for the wireless controller module contain that extra heft somehow. This doesn't really have any negative impact on usage, but it's something you'll definitely notice at first. We've gone over the basic features, now let's game a bit. I'm not much of a handheld Switch gamer. It's more of a last resort option for me. Games like Smash or Mario Kart just don't lend themselves well in handheld mode with Joy-Cons. The Nyxi Wizard changes that though. Smash in handheld mode is a ton of fun. It's incredibly satisfying, and the button mapping fits naturally as you'd expect. It was also the perfect button layout for Mario Kart. It made me just want to do a baby park tournament like I used to do with friends back in the day on GameCube. When I played Doom, the button mapping by default is B to jump, but you can quickly swap the controller mapping in the game to Classic, which fits the Nyxi joypad layout much better. While trying out a bunch of games, the only one that really had a bad controller layout was the Spyro Trilogy Remastered. But even then, I was able to simply remap the controls in the system settings. Just swapping A and B makes a massive difference between the game feeling terrible and being fully playable and comfortable on this controller. I'm even considering picking up the OLED Switch because of how often I find myself gaming in handheld mode since using these Joy-Cons. As a channel that's often looking at retro gaming through emulation, I wanted to see how using this controller felt for retro gaming. With the Switch Online and Switch Online Expansion Pass, we have access to a ton of games through emulation, and best of all, it's entirely legal. I found that this controller is the most comfortable for N64 emulation. While not all of the buttons are used, the order of the A and B button more closely resemble an N64 controller. Beyond the functions of a basic controller, I wanted to touch on some of the additional functionality this controller has that I think adds even more value to this accessory. If the ABXY button backlights are not for you, you can easily toggle them off by holding the turbo button and double-clicking the right analog stick. They turn back on with turbo and long pressing the right stick. You can change the vibration on the controller from anywhere between completely off and 100%. You just need to hold the turbo button and use the up and down arrows on the D-pad. The back buttons can be mapped to a single button, or you can map an entire macro. Just press the settings button, hit either a single button or time out your macro, then hit the settings button again to save the mapping. You can clear your back button mapping by holding the settings button for about 3 seconds. It's easy to see the status from the lights at the top of each side of the Joy-Con. A white light means nothing is set, while the blue light means that the back button is mapped. Setting the turbo button is as simple as holding the turbo button and pressing the button you want to repeat, then pressing that same button combination again to start the turbo action. Another interesting feature of the joypads are that they can technically work as standalone controllers just like Nintendo's Joy-Cons. To be honest, I can't imagine this in any practical scenario, but the L and R buttons are technically available if you're really in a crunch or you want to play Mario Kart on extreme difficulty. Overall, the Nyxi Wizard joypads are pretty awesome. They are well designed and they hit the nostalgia vibe just right while making the controller useful for modern games on the Switch as well. It's great that they're not just Joy-Con replacements, but can be your wireless GameCube controller as well. They do make the Switch quite large in handheld mode, but traveling with them as standalone controllers definitely makes it easier to bring around. It's a great way to experience N64 games, ports, and even modern games like Mario Kart 8 or Super Mario 3D World. Now, all we need is some more GameCube ports from Nintendo. I'm looking at you, F-Zero GX. The Nyxi Wizard Joypads are available to order now for $70, but if you use the link in the description and the coupon code, you can get 10% off. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Does this controller interest you? Would something like this make you use your Switch in handheld mode more? If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next video, and thanks for watching.